So there was a time where Esurance, which is a car insurance company, was posting or was having this commercial come out. And the funny thing about the commercial was it was some ladies that were a little bit older, and what they were talking about was how she was taking her vacation photos and posting it on her wall. What you're thinking is probably her Facebook wall. But no. She was actually taking the pictures and posting them on the wall in her living room. Her other friend says, "Well, that was so fast and that was really awesome." She goes, "Yeah, I've saved so much time just posting these things on my wall." And her other friend stands up and goes, "No, this is not how this works. That's not how any of this works." And she goes, "Well, I unfriend you." She goes, "No, that's not how this works." I'll tag the commercial in this video for this daily devotion here today. But the funny thing is that's actually what happens with the disciples. Today's reading in Mark 10, verses 32 through 34, that's what the disciples had to be thinking. That is not what's supposed to happen to the Son of Man. He is supposed to come in and be triumphant, supposed to win this victory. This is not how any of this is supposed to work. So in verse 32, when it says that they were on the road going out to Jerusalem and Jesus was walking ahead of them, they were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. He took the 12 aside, this is where it gets interesting, and began to tell them what was going to happen to him, saying, "See, we are going to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death." That's not supposed to happen. That's not how this is supposed to work. "And then they will hand him over to the Gentiles." That's not how this is supposed to work. "They will mock him." No way. "And spit upon him." That's not going to happen. "And flog him and kill him, and 3 days later he will rise again." Not only does this explanation of what's going to happen sound preposterous, it's not the triumphant, conquering Christ that they thought was going to happen. He's going to be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes? You mean the scribes that he's been going against the entire time? He's just going to be handed over to them, and then they're going to condemn him to death? He's not going to die. He'll be mocked, spit upon, flogged, and they'll kill him? And then he'll rise 3 days later? The poor disciples had no idea what they were walking into. And sadly for Christ was probably very frustrated because in this moment here, he clearly explains what exactly is going to happen. No analogies, no things to make them think about what's going on. No, "Who do you say that I am?" and waiting for responses. No, a direct declare of what was going to happen, other than Christ claiming that he was the Son of Man. But by that time, the disciples should have known that, at least. This is a hard story for them to understand, even if they didn't think that Christ was coming with a triumphant sword and to slay all the bad people and all this other type of stuff. It's still a hard story to understand. So when they say, or when Christ says to them, the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death, and then they will hand him over to the Gentiles. They will mock him, they will spit upon him, and flog him and kill him. After 3 days he will rise again. That's a hard story for them to believe. So it's no wonder that when Christ comes back that they're hiding and they're afraid and they're scared. They fear and they fail at trying to put the two things together. But the beautiful thing for you and I is that we know the story. We know that Christ comes back in the end, and we know how to share that story with others, and we know that we are saved because the conquering that Christ did was Christ came and he conquered death and provided us eternal salvation with God the Father. Amen.